Welcome back to Where Do We Go From Here with Scott Catallo, and as always, thank you very much for tuning in. In this episode, it continues my series on what the Metaverse tells us about being human. On this third episode, which follows my previous episodes, Metaverse in a Nutshell and Identity, I center this conversation around relationships and connection in the Metaverse and marginally social media, as they are really starting to blend. Naturally, there'll be some tie-ins from my last episode, Identity, in which I centered around the conversation squarely around avatars and how digital identity is formed, as I was fascinated by the how, why we select avatars and what it tells us about ourselves. And in this case, relationships and human connection in the virtual world has an even greater impact on the human condition. Therefore, in this episode, I will be discussing the following topics as it centers around human relationships and connection in the metaverse. First, why is human connection important, and why is there a desire at all to connect? Second, forming and retaining relationships in the digital age. Third, social outcomes and differences between physical and digital relationships. And last, ethical considerations and future trends. I again thank you for joining me on yet another journey, and let's dive into our first topic on relationships and connection in the metaverse and the digital world. The importance of human interactions and the desire to connect. Human interactions and connections are fundamental to our well-being and development, and I think that's probably the best place to start. Psychologically, human connection and relationships mitigate feelings of depression and anxiety by fostering a sense of belonging and purpose. Engaging with others helps keep our brains active, enhancing cognitive function and reducing risks of cognitive decline. Emotionally, these interactions provide crucial support during tough times, releasing endorphins that continue and contribute to happiness and overall well-being. Socially, connections help us build and maintain relationships that are essential for personal growth and professional growth, offering a sense of community and belonging. Physically, social connections are linked to healthier lifestyles and increased longevity. People with strong social networks are more likely to engage in physical activities, eat healthy, and maintain better lives overall. In professional settings, human interactions encourage collaboration, creativity, and innovation, while expanding one's network can lead to career advancement and mentorship opportunities. Furthermore, personal growth is facilitated through diverse interactions which enhance empathy and understanding, and expose us to new ideas and perspectives. In the case of connection, the metaverse and social media can and does both amplify and complicate human interaction. At the heart of our engagement within the metaverse and social media still maintains an inherent human desire for connection. The platforms overall provide avenues for interaction that transcend geographical limitations, allowing people to forge relationships across vast distances. This reflects our innate need to belong and connect, a drive that's been the cornerstone of our long human evolution. In the absence of physical presence, the ability to share experiences, emotions, and thoughts in real time speaks to our intrinsic social nature. In the context of the metaverse, platforms like VR Chat, Second Life have millions of active users who spend significant time socializing in virtual worlds. A study by the consultancy firm Accenture estimates that the metaverse could add $1.5 trillion to the global economy by 2030, driven largely by social interactions and digital relationships. These figures illustrate that our need for social interaction transcends physical boundaries, manifesting robustly in digital spaces. Consequently, many couples maintain long-distance relationships through digital communication, utilizing video calls, messaging apps, and shared online activities to stay connected. Stories of couples who met online and later married highlight the potential for deep connections to form in virtual spaces. Forming and retaining relationships in the digital age. Given the importance of human relationships and connection, it's crucial to understand how these relationships are formed and maintained in the metaverse on a social media. The evolution of technology, including smartphones, social media, and video conferencing, has drastically altered how we make connections. To evaluate the effectiveness of forming virtual relationships, we must first consider whether these digital interactions can meet the criteria of traditional relationships, such as belonging, trust, companionship, shared interests, understanding, empathy, and compassion. The question to ask with this subject of forming relationships virtually, we should first dissect whether it's truly possible to do so in a typical sense. Let me explain. Traditional relationships as we historically know it are based on such tangibles as belonging, trust, companionship, shared interests, understanding, empathy, and compassion, to name a few. If we can first agree and understand that those are important aspects of a traditional relationship, we can then start to look at some of the ways relationships are formed virtually and see if they're checking the right boxes. Virtual relationships, much like their real-world counterparts, are in fact built on the foundation of communication and shared experiences. However, the digital context adds unique elements to their formation and development. Virtual relationships can form in various online spaces such as social media platforms, online forums, virtual reality (VR) environments, and online gaming communities. Next, let's get into a few ways relationships form in the virtual and meta environment. To condense, I've broken the subject matter down into really 4 main avenues. Starting with the first, social media. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram enable users to connect through friend requests, follows, likes, comments, and direct messages. Next are online forums and communities. And these are shared interests in topics such as hobbies, professions, fandoms, foster interactions, and websites like Reddit and specialized forums that really bring people together that have common interests. Third, virtual reality environments. Platforms like VR Chat, Second Life, and the developing Meta allow users to interact using avatars, creating a space of presence and immersion that can mimic physical interaction. Last is online gaming. Popular multiplayer online games such as World of Warcraft, Fortnite, and Apex Legends, and Call of Duty provide environments where players can collaborate, compete, and communicate, often leading to the formation of friendships and social groups. Despite the method of connection, as it is in real life, it's always important to build that next step, which is trust and rapport. Now, in real life, this could generally take place over a coffee or meeting at the bar, in the office, or at church, or any kind of shared activities, such as sports or dating. However, in the virtual world, they can take place utilizing really what I identify as 3 potential avenues that mirror real-life relationship building. The first is consistent communication, and these are regular interactions such as chatting, video calls, and shared activities that help build some familiarity and trust. Second, shared experiences. And this is engaging in joint activities, whether it's completing quests in a game, participating in virtual events, or discussing mutual interests, which help strengthen bonds. And third, emotional support. And that's providing and receiving support during personal or collective challenges, which enhances the depth of the relationship. And once an initial connection is made, building trust and rapport is really the next critical step. In the virtual world, this is achieved through consistent communication, shared experiences, and emotional support. Regular interactions engaging in joint activities and providing emotional support help build the familiarity and deepen bonds, mirroring the relationship building processes of real life. By examining these virtual avenues and ensuring they align with the fundamental aspects of traditional relationships, we can better understand and facilitate meaningful connections in the digital age. Social outcomes and the difference between physical and digital relationships. As people increasingly engage both in physical and digital interactions, understanding the social outcomes and differences between these two types of relationships becomes really more essential. Each offers unique benefits and challenges shaping how individuals connect, communicate, and build trust. Therefore, let's look at physical and digital relationship outcomes separately, starting with social outcomes of physical relationships. Now, when I state social outcomes of physical relationships, I really mean physical relationships characterized by face-to-face interactions, and ones that are rich in nonverbal cues such as body language, facial expressions, and the tone of voice. These cues enhance communication, fostering deeper emotional bonds and understanding. Many studies show that nonverbal communication play a significant role in conveying emotions and intentions, which are essential for building strong relationships. Real-life physical presence allows for immediate feedback, making conflict resolution more straightforward and effective. For example, research by Gottman and Levison in 2000 highlights that in-person interactions are crucial for resolving conflicts, as they enable partners to perceive each other's emotional states more accurately and respond empathetically. Additionally, in-person interactions contribute to the development and refinement of social skills, promoting social integration and a sense of community. The tangible nature of physical relationships facilitates trust building. Regular in-person meetings enabling individuals to observe consistent behaviors, reinforcing reliability and dependability. This trust is often bolstered by shared experiences and physical comfort, leading to stronger emotional connections. Next, social outcomes of digital relationships. Now, digital relationships, in contrast, transcend geographical boundaries, allowing people to connect with others around the globe. This expansion of social networks provides an access to diverse perspectives and support systems, including specialized online communities. A study by Hampton, Sessions, and Herr in 2011 found that social media platforms help people maintain larger social networks and provide opportunities for social support. And digital communication offers convenience and flexibility, enabling individuals to maintain connections despite busy schedules or physical distance. For instance, research indicates that digital interactions can reduce social anxiety for some individuals, making it easier for them to engage and form relationships. Online patterns facilitate digital intimacy through consistent communication and shared experiences, such as gaming or collaborative projects. Despite the lack of physical presence, emotional support and companionship can be fostered through regular digital interactions. Social media and the metaverse has changed relationships forever, I think, as we certainly can agree. I always find it interesting that people will share things, even personal things, virtually to a "What's up, buddy" or Facebook friend long before they would ever say anything, even to a close family member in person. And I think to an extent we all do this. I think we have been in situations, whether it's on a plane, a train, or even in an Uber, when we don't have our devices handy with us, we can not only chat with a complete stranger, but also share intimate details of your life with them. Perhaps back in the recesses of our mind, we realize we may never see this person ever again, and that removes any prescriptive walls in our communication. And now for some differences between physical and digital relationships. I feel the primary difference between physical and digital relationships lies in the quality and depth of our communication. Physical interactions are typically richer and more nuanced due to the level and presence of nonverbal cues which we discussed, while digital interactions, though convenient, can be less nuanced and more prone to misinterpretation. For example, a study by Dirks, Fisher, and Booz in 2008 found that the absence of nonverbal cues in digital communication can lead to misunderstandings and less effective conflict resolution. Geographical constraints also distinguish the two. Physical relationships are often limited by proximity, whereas digital relationships can thrive regardless of physical distance, enabling global connectivity. However, this ease of forming connections online can sometimes lead to superficial or transient relationships. As I stated earlier, trust and authenticity, which are two of the biggest building blocks for relationships, are another area of stark contrast. In physical relationships, trust is built on consistent, observable behaviors. In digital relationships, the potential for anonymity and misrepresentation can make trust a very hard thing to establish. Additionally, the lack of physical presence in digital interactions can make emotional support feel less personal and intimate compared to the tangible comfort of in-person interactions. And the last subject is difference is empathy. One area that I feel is imperative to help foster relationships is also one of the most important tangibles I feel that you need to be an effective leader. Empathy, I found, is critical to being human and relating to each other, and I find it difficult to translate that into the virtual world. And to summarize some differences in a sense, I personally feel that virtual relationships via social media or Metaverse allow for selective relationships. And what I mean is that there is potentially less chance of judgment. Now, I did say potentially, as I'm very aware and sensitive to cyberbullying on social media, and certainly the virtual abuse that I have read about within Metaverse platforms. I'm more speaking about the dichotomy between virtual and real relationships and their differences. You see, virtual relationships can be set to private, which monitors and excludes those who wish to either judge, marginalize, or bully. In our real daily lives, most do not have that luxury, as people who impact relationships negatively could be people within your family, a coworker, or it could be a close friend. In this case, it is possible that a virtual relationship can be more positive from a mental health standpoint. And I feel there's no bigger fear that prevents relationships than that of personal judgment. And as a society that clings to social media platforms for hours and hours a day, it's become rampant with judging. I feel in part that social media has amplified the fear of judgment, and as a byproduct, dovetailed the fear of judgment into our real daily lives. Which again gets back to perhaps why people gravitate to creating virtual relationships. The virtual relationships have a safety barrier, the screen, which is between two people. Also, it provides the ability to share information without fear or judgment. Additionally, many virtual relationships aren't associated without responsibility or attachment. Ethical considerations and future trends. There are certainly ethical concerns, as I illustrate in my first episode of this series, The Metaverse in a Nutshell, which outlines pros and cons which in part directly associate with relationships. Digital and metaverse relationships, while innovative and transformative, raise several ethical considerations that reveal profound insights about human nature and society. So let's start by looking at some ethical considerations. The first is privacy and security, and this surrounds data protection and surveillance. Now, the risk of data breaches and misuse highlights our need for trust and security in relationships, and concerns about constant monitoring underscore the importance of autonomy and privacy. And this next leads to identity and authenticity. The potential for false identities and deception points to the value of honesty and transparency in the human connection. Ensuring genuine interactions reflects our desire for meaningful and trustworthy relationships. Next is mental health, and this has to do with addiction and dependency and isolation. And if you think back to my video game episode and even the episode on the Metaverse in a nutshell, a lot of it does surround mental health. And in that, the risk of addiction to digital platforms reveals our vulnerability to over-reliance on technology for social fulfillment. While these platforms can connect us, they can also contribute to social isolation, emphasizing the importance of face-to-face interactions. And we can't dismiss the cultural impact as it relates to the digital divide and cultural sensitivity. Inequitable access to digital spaces highlights ongoing social inequities and the need for inclusivity. Virtual interactions can lead to cultural misunderstandings, showing the need for empathy, yes, there it is again, empathy, and respect in global relationships. Next, the ethical design and governance. And this has to do with algorithmic bias. Algorithmic biases reflect broader societal prejudices, pointing to the need for fairness and equality. Again, I go back to the first episode in the series, The Metaverse in a Nutshell, where I discuss some of the biases. In this case pertaining to transparency, this mainly comes down to, in my opinion, trust and transparency, which again are two of the cornerstones of a meaningful relationship. Lack of transparency in how algorithms work make it difficult to identify and correct biases. And biases in algorithms also erode the user's trust in automated systems and technology more broadly. Effective regulation and accountability are necessary to protect users in the future and ensure ethical standards. And last for this category are psychological and emotional well-being. And this has to do with emotional investment and interpersonal skills. The intensity of digital relationships can lead to unrealistic expectations, highlighting the complexity of human emotions. An over-reliance on digital interactions may hinder the development of essential social skills, emphasizing the importance of face-to-face communication. Future trends. As digital environments evolve, the ways in which relationships are formed and maintained are also transforming. Here are my 6 key trends anticipating for the future of relationship building in the metaverse and social media. The first, enhanced immersive experiences. Virtual reality VR and augmented reality AR. The metaverse will leverage VR and AR technologies to create highly immersive environments. These technologies will enable more lifelike and engaging interactions, allowing users to feel as if they are physically present with others despite being in different locations. And a big one, I think, is going to be haptic feedback. And advances in haptic technology will provide tactile feedback, further enhancing the sense of presence and physical interaction in virtual environments. And it adds some clarity. Haptic technology can create the experience of touch by applying forces, vibrations, or motion to enhance your virtual experience. Second is AI-driven personalization. Now, artificial intelligence will play a significant role in personalizing social interactions. AI can analyze user preferences and behaviors to recommend communities, events, and connections that align with your interests, enhancing the relevance and quality of social interactions. Also, AI-driven virtual companions or avatars will simulate human interactions, offering companionship and support, particularly for those who may feel isolated or have difficulty forming traditional social connections. Third, decentralized social platforms. And this has to do with blockchain technology. Decentralized social media platforms built on blockchain technology will emerge, offering greater control over personal data and privacy. Users will have more autonomy over their digital identities and the content they share, fostering trust and authenticity in virtual relationships. Blockchain can also facilitate tokenized interactions, where users earn tokens or digital currency for engaging in social activities. This could incentivize positive behavior and active participation in virtual communities. 4. Integration of real-world and virtual environments. The integration of real and virtual worlds through mixed reality will blur the lines between physical and digital interactions. Users will be able to seamlessly transition between real-world and virtual environments, enhancing the continuity of their social experiences. And for hybrid events that combine physical and virtual elements such as hybrid conferences, concerts, and social gatherings will become more common, providing new opportunities for connection and engagement. 5. The focus on mental health and well-being, and this is a big one. As the impact of digital interactions on mental health become more apparent, there'll be a greater focus on developing tools and features that promote digital wellness. These may include features for managing screen time, fostering positive interactions, and providing mental health support within virtual environments. Online platforms will increasingly prioritize the creation of supportive and inclusive communities. Tools for detecting and mitigating harmful behaviors such as what I talked about earlier, cyberbullying and harassment, will be enhanced to ensure safer and more welcoming virtual environments. 6 and last, global and inclusive connectivity, and that's bridging the gap of the digital divide is what I mean. Efforts to bridge the digital divide will expand, ensuring that more people around the world will have access to the technologies needed to participate in the metaverse and social media. And this will foster greater inclusiveness and diversity in the virtual relationships. And the global nature of digital platforms will continue to facilitate cross-cultural interactions, enabling users to connect with people from diverse backgrounds and fostering greater cultural understanding and exchange. So where do we go from here? And more importantly, what does this even tell us about being human? Well, in short, we learn to some extent what's required for a meaningful relationship. But again, what does this tell us about being human? In a short, condensed way, I have a few bullet points that I put together as takeaways for this episode. And the first is trust and security. Humans crave secure and trustworthy connections, whether online or off. Next, authenticity and honesty. Genuine and honest interactions are the foundation to meaningful relationships. Next, social fulfillment. While technology can enhance connections, face-to-face interactions remain critical and crucial for social well-being. Next, empathy and respect. Navigating cultural differences requires empathy and respect, reflecting our shared humanity. As I stated earlier, this was a big one for me. I think this encapsulates what it means to be human. Next is fairness and equality. Addressing relationship biases and ensuring equitable access to reflect our collective commitment to fairness and justice. Next, emotional complexity. The depth of human emotions and the need for genuine connections are central to our nature and to who we are. And last, skill development. Balancing digital and real-world interactions is essential for developing comprehensive interpersonal skills. And the metaverse in itself is an immersive virtual environment. Further extend the possibilities of online interaction. It does allow users to engage in experiences that simulate real-life interactions, making social interactions accessible to those who might be physically isolated. Virtual communities within the metaverse and social media provide engaging platforms for shared experiences. While social media and the metaverse offers significant benefits, keep in mind it's critical and crucial to balance virtual and real-world interactions. These platforms should complement rather than replace face-to-face connections. Mindful use of social media and periodic digital detoxes can help maintain a healthy balance, ensuring that virtual interactions enhance our overall social experience without leading to isolation. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Where Do We Go From Here? We've explored the profound ways in which the metaverse and social media shape our understanding of human relationships. From the importance of human interactions to the formation and maintenance of digital connections. We've delved into how these virtual environments impact our social lives. As we move forward in this digital age, I think it's critical to remember that while technology can enhance our connections, the essence of human relationships remains rooted in trust, authenticity, and empathy. Balancing our digital interactions with real-world connections will help us maintain our well-being and foster meaningful relationships. Again, I appreciate it, and stay tuned for our next and final episode in this particular series, The Metaverse, What It Tells Us About Being Human, where I dissect the subject of consumerism in the metaverse and social media. As always, I appreciate your support, and don't forget to subscribe for more insightful discussions on cutting-edge technology and social trends. And always tell your friends. As a reminder, this podcast can be heard on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. And please keep spreading the word about my podcast, Where Do We Go From Here? With Scott Catallo, and tell your friends, work colleagues, and well, just about anybody. As always, I welcome your feedback and questions on this episode, and if you have any ideas for future episodes, I would absolutely love to hear them. For any such feedback, feel free to contact me at catelloscott@gmail.com. Until next time, embrace the virtual frontier and continue to journey with us through the realms of innovation. Thank you for listening, and I may see you in the metaverse. Till next time.